How does a healthcare provider make the transition from a volunteer to a paid provider? Here are some suggestions. The healthcare professional must state how long they can offer their services for free. Healthcare providers in various jurisdictions are constrained as to the type of services that can be offered for free and circumstances in which services can be offered for free, thus it is essential that healthcare providers be explicit regarding the commitments they can make. For example, I can afford to volunteer for 1 week. I can afford to bring X amount of supplies. If we run out of materials before 2 weeks, you supply the material and I'll stay the remainder of the time I stated. After the 2 weeks are up, before the healthcare provider pulls out and leaves, the provider should talk with the people they have been helping. At this point, the community can ask the provider to stay and begin providing services for a fee. When the community writes the disaster response and recovery plans, before a disaster hits, the healthcare providers should register with the ESF-8, Emergency Support Function 8, office of their local and state emergency operations center. This office is responsible for ensuring that critical services, including healthcare, are included in disaster planning. Further, during a disaster response and recovery, the ESF-8 office is responsible for ensuring that the critical service provider receives supplies and resources to remain operational. Become a community resource as a healthcare service provider and receive referrals for fee-based services. This is completely ethical. In fact, it's a win-win solution. The community keeps its healthcare professionals and the healthcare provider has work. What could be better? The bottom line is that healthcare businesses need to understand the different ways to participate in a disaster response, and they need to get over the stigma of profiting from disaster. Realize that the people receiving healthcare services don't mind paying for them. Similarly, communities and emergency management professionals must expand their plans to include all healthcare professionals in the community, not just the medical physicians, nurses and hospital staff. After all, the healthcare providers in a community were important to the community before the disaster. How much more important are these professionals after the disaster?